I know the focus is beating SMU on Saturday, but have you allowed yourself to think about it's your final time coaching in that building?
I haven't really thought about it that much, to be very honest with you. This time of year, you don't have very much time to think about things other than preparing yourself for the next game. A lot of it's because we're still teaching, we're still developing, we still got a lot of guys that are trying to figure things out, and I think we've made progress, but, and I'm not one of those guys, I'm not a very sentimental guy, I don't think sometimes. I'm sure they hit me at some point. The mere fact that I have so many people from all over the country that are former teammates, former office people from the University of Kentucky, friends from Austin Peay, a lot of guys from the University of Miami, a lot of guys from Florida State. And it's very interesting. I went to the University of Tennessee at Martin in 1968, and I got 17 people coming from the University of Tennessee at Martin. A lot of the players, and they bring their wives and their families to be with me on this occasion, which says a lot about what goes on in college sports. You would hope that, my dream would be that our nation and our society would develop the same kind of relationships that you do on sports teams. I go to UT Martin as the first black player to play at that school, and my teammates who are still living, we have such good relationships with them and their families and their grandkids that they want to be a part of my last game. That just says a lot about what happens in college sports. And somehow or another, I feel that we kind of getting away from that on the college level, and I'm thinking that our society should maybe take a picture, a snapshot of how these relationships are built over a number of years, and how much you learn from each other along the way. And there's nobody, when you're in that foxhole with your teammate, you're not worrying about what it looks like. You're worrying about y'all trying to win a basketball game, and y'all depend on each other, and that translates to your relationships on and off the court. And so, gosh, I have players from the University of Miami coming, Sam Bowie, Dirk Minifield, coming from the University of Kentucky, two guys that meant an awful lot to me, and we got great relationships. And got former players here, and gosh, so many of them. Chris Singleton, and part of our early success that we had. And, Andrew Wilson, I don't think he's going to be able to come. I think he's coaching the game. But to have guys from all who's meant so much to me and part of my life, that it says a lot about the game and what it means, other than the wins and losses. Those wins and losses of development of I got grandkids. I got kids from my players that sleep in FSU gear, and they know more about me than I know more about them. That's just part of what it goes on in sports. That I'm sure that at some point I'll reminisce about it and probably even get emotional. I'm hoping I can stay strong.
Navigating so many young men into adulthood throughout your entire coaching career, is that your greatest accomplishment?
Well, for me, that means so much more than anything. When you take young men as teenagers and you usher them into young adulthood, that's a tremendous responsibility. And we get recognized for how many games we win, and how many trophies, and how many Hall of Fames I'm in, and how many NCAA trips you make and games you win. But in reality, when you look back over your career, and if your players are not successful, the guys who help you accomplish those things, if they're not doing well, then you don't feel like you've done your job. But to be here for 23 years and only have one or two players not graduate, and that whole time who was with you for 4 years, to me that's important. That's that's more important to me than all the Hall of Fames that I'm in. I mean, when you take under consideration that they want you to be part, they want you to meet their fiance, they want you to be a part, they want you to be at their wedding, they call you on Father's Day and Christmas and your birthday. I have a text that Michael Ojo sent me that I never erase. Just wishing me happy birthday and how sincere he was and the words that he spoke. I get emotional most of the time when I ever have to listen to it, but I listen to it on a regular basis because that's what coaching is all about. You know, finding a way to win basketball games to keep your job, but you also are developing youngsters that during the most vulnerable time in their lives. And so to have them, one of our guys made a comment to me the other day that a day doesn't go by that he doesn't feel like he used something that he learned while he was at Florida State. That means an awful lot.
Kind of in that similar regard, obviously you've taught a lot of these guys and helped them develop, but for yourself personally, what have they been able to teach you? I know it's a give and a take, and what kind of impact, you're sitting in front of a wall of guys in the NBA, you talk about the guys who graduated and all that. What kind of impact have they had on Leonard Hamilton?
Well, it's amazing when you go through this journey that you realize how important the relationships mean. And it even makes you feel a sense of pride when you look back at these guys and see how well they're doing. A guy like Wyatt Wilkes is a successful businessman. You got guys, Gates was a graduate assistant in our program. You see the success that he's having. How many guys that have gone on and used what they learned in your environment to help be successful people. And that gives you a sense of pride. And you can't take those things for granted. You understand how blessed you are to even have the opportunity to work with people like this. It's just, and you take a lot of pride in making sure you maintain those relationships, and for them to feel comfortable with you, that when they have these major decisions in their life, they want to call you and discuss them with you. Whether financially or making decisions about their career. You realize that these coaching jobs, have a lot more responsibility than sometimes meets the public eye.
On the court, with what you did with this program, cutting down nets, winning ACC championships, NCAA tournaments, is there a singular moment that stands out to you over your time here on the court that, is the best of the best for you?
Well, to be very honest with you, I remember President Thrasher throwing my players basketball when they walk across the stage and get their degrees. That's probably one of the most highlights that I've enjoyed. Just knowing that we haven't lost our perspective on what's really, really important.
Do you have an appreciation that you've won at 3 football-centric schools and you've built a basketball culture here over 23 years too?
Well, you go back and you look at, you try to identify what's really, really important. And I was so fortunate as a youngster, 23-year-old, going to Austin Peay and then being given the responsibility of a full-time assistant coach when he was 23 years old, in the program that's picked to finish last in the league. That was just such a unique and special opportunity, working for a guy like Lake Kelly that I learned so much from, not only from a basketball standpoint, but just by how to relate to players and how to treat youngsters and how to help develop them. And those experiences that I learned from Austin Peay allowed me to be more successful at the University of Kentucky. And so then it's time for me to become a head coach, and all the experiences that I had that helped me developed the philosophy that I felt that would help us win games, but also help us win in the game of life. I feel so very fortunate. I always tell people I feel like my steps been ordered by the Lord, because at every turn I had challenges that we had to overcome. And I go from drinking at the colored water fountain, using the colored bathroom, to standing on a ladder cutting nets down in the ACC. That's an accomplishment for itself, and I don't get it twisted now. That wasn't all me. That's just God's blessing and grace and mercy on my life. And so that's an honor to be in that category, and I don't forget those things. And it means an awful lot to have to overcome those challenges of segregation, and then be able to take what you've learned and the challenges that you had, turn them into positives. Let it become something that motivates you as opposed to depressing you and making you angry. So I just think all my blessings that I received from the growth from the challenges, going to University of Tennessee at Martin, and I had no idea I was going to be the first black African American player to play there. But I was prepared for it. And I think that's because of the life lessons that I learned from my parents, and never living more than 30, 40 yards from my church, and being a part of every time the door opened, being a part of it. You develop I think what you call a solid moral compass that allows you to make the right kind of decisions in your life. And then you take your life lessons and you try to impart those things that you learn with your players. I've been unbelievably blessed, and I don't think I would change anything. I've just been blessed immeasurably, and I got a lot to be thankful for.
Are you concerned for the future of college basketball? As someone who's been around it so long, knows the business side of it and where it's going.
I do have a lot of questions about college basketball, specifically, but college sports in general, because as we talk about the ills or the challenges that we're going through now, one thing that's never really mentioned is the fact that if there are 3,000 or 4,000 kids that put their name in the portal, close to 40% of them won't get a scholarship offer. So over a 4, 5, 6 year period, you got close to 6,000 players running around with not an opportunity to finish the education on a scholarship. And unfortunately, I'd say 85 to 90% of them are black. Kids who can less afford to not get the education. But somehow or another, that's been lost in the shuffle. We worry about we complain about the NIL and the changing every year and this and that. But what about those guys who losing their opportunities because this atmosphere has been created where the grass always looks greener on the other side? And what are we doing to make sure those guys don't get lost in the shuffle? So now if you add that up over a 10-year period, how many lives have we negatively affected by creating this, whatever this situation that we've created, this atmosphere that has allowed us to concentrate on a whole lot of other things other than getting that education. And I realized, for me personally, education has been, getting my education was the most important thing that I've ever done. My father always told me that you can't go very far in life without getting education. My father dropped out of school in the 9th grade, and he was always challenged and really bitter about the fact that he was always training college graduates how to do their job. But because of his lack of education, he could not be paid the same thing. And so he encouraged me, but he also let me know he didn't have one dime that he could afford to help me with getting my education. I had to figure it out myself. But me getting my degree, at 23, I adopted my brother Willie. And I helped him go through school. And he goes to school, he gets his degree, he meets his wife in school, and she gets her degree, and both his kids go to college. And the same thing with my sister Pam. I adopted my brother Barry, he didn't have kids, but my sister Pam, she goes to college, and I adopted her when she was 14 because I could afford to do it. And her son goes to college. And my brother Willie, gosh, both his kids go to college. And so my point is that getting your education is so very important, and somehow or another, that's the least thing we talk about in this day and time about college athletics, especially basketball.